What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the PrizePicks Prop Show, bringing you the first look at the Super Bowl lines for Super Bowl 57. We have the Eagles taking on the Chiefs, two pretty high-flying offenses, two teams with plenty of offensive producers, so should be a lot to go around from a PrizePicks and prop betting perspective, so looking forward to that. But obviously, with the Super Bowl comes a lot of fun picks and stuff like that as well. So we'll look around PrizePicks, see what they have to offer. I haven't really looked at the fun props a whole lot. I've been looking at a lot of my projections and stuff throughout the last few days. So more so looking internally rather than at the lines. But this is just going to be a first look show later on in the week, or I should say next week. We will have a show with Alex Blickel and myself. We'll go through some of our favorite picks for the Super Bowl. And obviously, I'm going to have some picks for today. I'll show you guys the Edge tool as well. We'll pull that up in a little bit, compare some of the lines to my projections, and take a look at that. But if you're a new user at PrizePicks, head over there, use code FTN, get yourself a 100% match up to $100. That way you can get a little bit of a bankroll going for the Super Bowl. Also, today's Friday, so that means we have the Flex Friday discount promo going on. Basically, you can make a flex parlay pick on PrizePicks up to 20 bucks, I believe you can get protected. So if you win, you get all the money back. If you lose, you get up to $20 returned in bonus funds. So obviously another opportunity that you don't want to miss out on. And really, PrizePicks, they have these kind of promos going on 2 or 3 times a week, it seems. And obviously with the big games, this week we have a Mahomes free square, so you definitely want to take advantage of that and don't miss out on that. But without further ado, let's pull up the PrizePicks board here and let's take a look at some of the plays for the Super Bowl. And obviously, like I mentioned, Patrick Mahomes, over half a passing yard. That's going to be a free square that you can obviously take advantage on up until the Super Bowl kickoff. Again, I think it's probably going to be $20-$25 max. So make sure you're taking advantage of that. Hopefully you are, going to be using several picks, but again, definitely do not want to miss out on that. That's going to be a free square there. Now, looking at the two differences in the lines, it's pretty big numbers. We saw obviously the Eagles have a lot of success running the ball last week. Hurts was held under the number. He actually hasn't hit this number in either of the two playoff games that he's played, and hasn't even hit 200, let alone 155. So not a lot of production coming from Jalen Hurts. But we're going to talk about my model in a little bit. My model does not agree with that low number, but I can totally see why the line would come here at this sort of number for Hurts. Obviously, with the two back-to-back lackluster performances, and obviously, not needing to throw a whole lot and all that stuff. So I can understand it. It makes sense. I think my model had him for like 250 or 260. I believe I will double check on that and confirm. Yeah, it's 266 there for Jalen Hurts. So that's going to be the first pick that I kind of take a look at and obviously like here. 238 is obviously a pretty low number in terms of the obviously upside that we've seen from Hurts. He's gone over 300 yards several times this season, so definitely in the realm of possibilities there for Hurts to go over 300 in the spot. And also when you consider that the matchup, you know, you should probably expect the Eagles to be able to run the ball on the Chiefs. The teams have had some success running the ball against them in the past, and obviously their pass rush is pretty good. And obviously the just the overall run game for the Eagles is very stout. So they're going to try to run the ball, no doubt about that. But in terms of the secondary, it should be a fine matchup. It's not like this secondary is anything overwhelmingly strong. 17th in DVOA against the pass, also 20th against the run for the Chiefs there. So it's a spot where I think we're going to be able to see the Eagles kind of produce on offense regardless, whether they want to do it via the pass or on the ground. But at the end of the day, what I think it comes down to is their run game being able to set up these passing opportunities. I think that's going to go quite a long way here in this offense. So that's the one thing that I like. Obviously, from the quarterback perspective, is probably going to be the Jalen Hurts passing yards over. But I think you can get really creative with Jalen Hurts. If you are doing several picks, obviously you probably want to spread out your portfolio a little bit, I guess you could call it, and diversify a little bit. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. And with that being the case, his over on stuff like fantasy points, his over on just overall touchdowns is something that I like, from the rushing perspective. So that's something definitely to keep in mind if you're doing several picks. But in terms of the passing yards props, obviously the free square for Patrick Mahomes and obviously the Jalen Hurts play, are two numbers that I like quite a bit. Now, when looking at some of the rushing props, obviously you can do the combined players, over under numbers there. This could be a spot where an under is somewhat appealing. This is a spot where both running backs are in committees. Yes, they are the lead backs, especially in terms of rushing production by quite a wide margin. But if the Chiefs fall behind, you're likely to see more Jerick McKinnon, and if the Eagles fall behind, you're likely to see a little bit more Kenneth Gainwell, and you're likely just to see them airing it out a ton more. So that is a number that I'm interested in. The under 108 rushing yards combined. I think I have them projecting to go right around this number. But just in terms of the overall game theory aspect of it, I would probably lean the under on this pick here. So let's put these in the queue there for now. Obviously, want to include the Patrick Mahomes free square there, but in terms of some other rushing overs or unders, not really anything that stands out a whole lot. Obviously, I didn't have a McKinnon number right now. We've seen Boston Scott get involved at times. That's probably a spot where you're hoping for, 2 carries and he cashes that. I wouldn't hate that number. I haven't projected for right around 10 yards, but again, nothing I'm feeling overly excited about from a rushing yards perspective. Now, receiving yards, this one's kind of important to talk about just because of the fact that we have a lot of injury news on the side of the Kansas City Chiefs and their wide receivers. Obviously, Mecole Hardman, Juju Smith-Schuster, they both got hurt, and as well as Kadarius Toney. So I haven't seen a whole lot of clarity on whether these guys are going to play. I think I saw Hardman's probably not going to play, but it's always tough in the playoffs and especially the Super Bowl for some of these guys because it's like if there's a 5% chance that they can play, and they're going to be out there. If this is a regular season game, probably, you can safely assume these guys are going to sit. But with it being the Super Bowl, it just feels like everything in their power they're going to be able to do to play. They're going to try that, and obviously they get the additional week with the week off. So obviously that's part of the reason why I'm okay with waiting on some lines, especially if you are playing any lines on some of these secondary pass catchers, or maybe you're interested in them and they're not up yet. But obviously for this one, the only wide receiver or pass catcher that isn't a running back for the Chiefs that has a lineup is Travis Kelce. You can pretty much feel pretty good about his line no matter what. I have him projected for over 80 yards. Obviously, I would lean on that over. Travis Kelce, he was banged up going into last game. I guess it was back spasms or something along those lines. He had 78 receiving yards, as you can see there, in that game against Cincinnati. He's been awesome in the playoffs his entire career. That would be for sure a spot where I lean the over. A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith have both kind of they've kind of traded places a little bit in the playoffs. Devonta Smith's kind of been the go-to guy at times, it seems, and at certain times, A.J. Brown wasn't too happy about that. I have A.J. Brown with the most receiving yards in the game in my projections. I would definitely lean towards the over on an A.J. Brown receiving yards play, especially if I do have Jalen Hurts over on his passing yards. Those plays both correlate very well, obviously. So those are two plays that I'm looking at from a receiving yards perspective. Catches, don't really feel a ton of edges here, at least currently. The one spot that I do want to check back in on is receiving targets. Throughout the playoffs, there's been pretty significant edges, in my opinion, on receiving targets, which they didn't really have them a ton throughout the season where there were a ton of lines. But for the playoffs, receiving targets have come in, and a lot of them have been very high. I'm sure if you guys have been following those in the pick tracker, those have by far been my most successful picks from a prize pick perspective. I don't think I've bet an under on a receiving targets prop yet in the playoffs and got it wrong. So I'm hoping that they will release some more targets props because it just feels like their numbers are coming in a bit too high. Or maybe it's just a playoff thing where the unders are more prevalent because of the way that playoffs have sometimes shaken out in some of these games. Like we really haven't seen a whole lot of shootouts. Like if you think about it, I think the Miami Buffalo game in the first round of the playoffs was like the biggest shootout of the week, or sorry, of the postseason. So that is maybe a thing to consider there, but and that might be different in this game. This does have a bit more makings of shootout, but definitely going to keep my eye out for the receiving targets. So that is something I will definitely keep in mind. Let's pull up the. Let's go ahead and pull up the. Let's see here. I want to pull up the PrizePicks Edge tool which again, this is free every single day at FTN Daily. We have the NFL Prize Picks Projection Edge tool, as well as the NBA projections tool. So you do not want to miss out on those. Obviously, great tools to use and have at your fingertips that are free. So I just updated this a few minutes ago, as you guys can see. And basically, this takes all the lines that we have on Prize Picks, compares them to all the projections that I have, and gives us the best plays per the projections. Now, again, it's not always going to be all the picks come from the projections, or you have to follow the projections exactly. There's going to be spots where, for example, the Travis Kelsey play, I haven't projected for 4 or 5 yards over his number, but it's a number that I would like just because of it's Travis Kelsey, like the matchup, like the spot that he's in, and I like the usage that he's going to have, especially with all these receivers being banged up. So keep that in mind. I like to use it more of as like a starting point or a baseline rather than the end all be all. But as you can see here, Jalen Hurts overs are very very prevalent here. But again, it's going to kind of come with the territory of when I have him projected for 30 yards over his passing prop. Obviously, it's going to lead to me being higher on his fantasy score and all these props. So that's another thing to keep in mind. I do have the over on Mahomes pass attempts, which is pretty interesting. That is a number that he has had some success going over in the past. And obviously, we know that if the game script falls in a spot where they need to throw, they're not going to shy away from it. As we saw last week, 43 pass attempts. He only had 30 in the first playoff game, but that was obviously due to him missing. I think he missed basically the entire second quarter. And obviously, he was banged up a lot with the ankle injuries, but he looked pretty healthy to me last week. He's going to have 2 weeks now of layoff time before his next game. That probably tells me that he's going to be not necessarily 100%, but a lot healthier. I feel pretty good about that. And then you can see AJ Brown over on his receiving yards as well. Kenneth Gainwell over 1.5 receptions is another pick that I think is pretty solid as well. So you can definitely use the Prize Picks prediction tool, the Edge tool over at FTN Daily, again, free every single day, as well as the pick tracker, which is free every single day, covering all of the sports that we have. Obviously, NBA is a big one right now, NFL, PGA, all those sports. So highly recommend checking those out at FTN Daily for free every single day. But yeah, that's going to do it for me, I guess. To sum it up, the 5 picks that I guess the 6 picks that I pulled away from this first look would be the Isaiah Pacheco, Miles Sanders under the combined number there. Let me switch over to the Prize Picks tab here. The under there on the combined rushing total, the over on the Jalen Hurts passing yards, obviously the over on the Mahomes free square, the over on Travis Kelsey receiving yards, the over on AJ Brown receiving yards, and the over on Patrick Mahomes pass attempts. For the record, I do have the Eagles winning this game, so that kind of leads me to liking these Kansas City overs a little bit more, especially thinking that they're going to need to pass. And I'm not like dead set on the Eagles winning, but regardless, I don't think it's a spot where Kansas City's going to run away with the game. So I do think that we see the Chiefs kind of being forced to a more pass-heavy approach here. But that's going to do it for me. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so when the next video is coming. We'll be back with some more Prize Picks. I believe Mike's going to have a college basketball video tomorrow, so check that out. And I'll be back again next week, probably Tuesday through Thursday, with some NBA, some PGA, all that good stuff. So again, appreciate you guys for tuning in. That's going to do it for me. We will see you guys next time. And as always, good luck, everybody.